Throughout history, academics and writers have often sought to rewrite the narrative of the past. This can take various forms, including pulling down statues and rewriting literature, in an effort to challenge and revise dominant historical narratives that have often excluded or misrepresented certain perspectives. One prominent example of rewriting history is the contentious issue of pulling down statues. In recent years, there has been a global movement to remove statues that represent historical figures associated with colonialism, slavery, and other forms of oppression. These statues are often seen as glorifying individuals who were responsible for perpetrating acts of injustice and oppression against marginalized groups. For example, in 2020, during the Black Lives Matter protests sparked by the killing of George Floyd, numerous statues of Confederate leaders and slave owners were toppled or removed in the United States, and the phenomenon spread to other colonizers' symbols globally. These actions were seen as a way to challenge the dominant narrative that had upheld these figures as heroic and celebrated, and instead foreground the dark history of slavery and systemic racism. Critics argue that this erases history and disregards the context of the time in which these statues were erected. They argue that it is important to preserve statues as historical artifacts that can serve as a reminder of the complexity of the past, even if they represent individuals who were involved in oppressive acts. They are celebrated not for these acts, but for other accomplishments. Erasing the memories of the past is an attempt to impose contemporary values and ideologies on the past, and can sometimes distort or oversimplify complex historical events. An interesting case was Cambridge University College in 2019, which removed an historic bell from view amid fears it was once used on a slave plantation. Should every trace from our dark past be erased or canceled? Douglas Murray writes, "Of course people only think that they would have acted better in history because they know how history ended up. People in history didn't and don't have that luxury. They made good or bad choices in the times and places they were in, given the situations and shibboleths that they found themselves with." Similarly, literature has also been a battleground for rewriting history. Rewriting classic stories has become a popular thing to do, with woke publishers who change politically incorrect ideas and words used in stories such as Roald Dahl's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Ian Fleming's James Bond. As Lowry writes, this is a very bad idea. For a start, where does it end? There's no limiting principle that would prevent the editing of nearly every great writer in the Western canon. The term Bowdlerize originated from Thomas Bowdler, who published a family-friendly version of Shakespeare's works in the early 19th century. Although his intentions were noble, his name has now become synonymous with clumsy and heavy-handed editing of texts for political or social reasons. Is it fair to judge the past by today's standards? Should we hide the evidence of it? Should we glorify people who brought good change, even if they were not perfect, by today's standards? He says we can see a concerted attempt to reconstruct what children are taught about their history and their literature. And we should be in little doubt about the consequences. If the next generation can be taught that their forebears are immoral, if they can see no emotional or cultural link to previous generation and their successes and hardships, and, within that, their failures, then their actions will reflect this, and the world will be poorer.